In the summertime, there is absolutely nothing more refreshing than a Mexican nieve de mango, a mango ice, with all of its tangy liminess and rich fruit flavor. When you go into a Mexican market, especially if you're in Oaxaca or in West Central Mexico, there will be a collection of people selling what they call nieves. Now, the word nieve actually translates as snow, but these are a kind of fruit ice oftentimes, and they're going to have the texture that will remind you a little bit of snow mixed with some flavoring, say. So it's not sorbet. Sorbet is super smooth and it's more concentrated in its flavor and usually more concentrated in its sweetness. No, this is just all about this wonderfully refreshing, slightly crystalline sorbet kind of texture, but one that really focuses on freshness and fresh fruit. So when you think about making them, it's probably going to be a mixture of always some fruit, some sugar, and some water, almost like you're making an agua fresca, but a little more concentrated in the fruit. And every fruit, because some are pulpy and some are watery, are going to have a slightly different balance. Today I'm going to show you the easiest one that I know to make, and the easiest one I know to make really well, and it's going to be based on the mango. Okay, so the mango is, you find two different varieties in the stores typically. You will find this one that's all yellow on the outside. This is a variety that comes out of Mexico that is a hybrid called Ataulfo. And then the other one is the great big round one that has a blush of green and red on the outside. That one is usually some sort of offspring of the Kint or the Hayden mangoes. Now, both of them are delicious, and both of them come into season at the same time, which is spring into summer, which is great because you want to make this in the summertime when you have the need for some sort of refreshing dessert, nothing too heavy. But when you buy them, they should be very aromatic. You can smell mangoes when they're really ripe, and then you also want to make sure that they're soft. Okay, they should give to firm pressure, almost exactly like an avocado when it's ready for making guacamole. So we're going to peel this mango. I'm using this little bird's beak knife here, which I like a lot for this, and you peel it more or less like you would peel a peach or an apple or pear. It has a fairly thin skin, and once you break through that skin, it will release a lot of beautiful aroma into your kitchen. Now, this recipe that I'm making today needs to be made with the right proportion of fruit to all of the rest of the ingredients. So I started with a large mango and one that is coming in at about 14 ounces. So it's a large one. The quantity, if your mangoes are different than mine, the quantity that you want to have of roughly chopped mango would be a heaping cup. Now, if you haven't worked with mangoes before, you want to, these are cling pits, that's what they call them, cling pits, because they don't come away from, the flesh doesn't come away from the pit. You're going to cut just slightly off-centered, straight down. You notice it's a kind of flat, it's got a flat side to it, so you want to do that. I always embed my finger in the top like that so I can hold it because it's very slippery. And then go on the other side of it, cutting down just on the other side of the pit. So you got the two flat sides off now, and then going around this flat pit that's there, I cut a little bit off there, twist it 180 degrees and then cut off there. Flip it over, same thing on the other side. Trying to get close to the pit, but not cutting into the pit. Now I can even actually see that hard pit right in there. You can be a little more meticulous if you want to and get more of this off, but I usually save the pits to have a little snack later on, and I can take the little bits of it off there myself. Okay, so I'm going to cut this up into small pieces here. That'll just help us get the pureeing going easier. Same thing with the flat sides that we took off. And then we're going to put those into the food processor. You could put them into a blender. Either one will work for this. Today I'm going to use the food processor for it. So you should have about 1 heaping cup of the mango pieces there. So we're going to toss those into the food processor along with fresh lime juice. I'm putting in 1/3 of a cup of fresh lime juice, 2 cups of water. You see, it seems a little bit like you're making agua fresca here. And then I'm going to put in 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Now that works really good with a ripe mango. It's not it's not going to make it too sweet, and it's not going to make it so light in flavor that you can't appreciate the flavor of the mango. So there's our 3/4 of a cup, and we're going to turn that on and let that go for a minute or so until it's completely pureed. Okay, that is smooth now, and we're ready to go into the frozen bowl ice cream maker. That's the one that I'm using for you today. Probably a lot of you have these already. You take the bowl and you put it into the freezer for 24 hours, and it has this mixture liquid in the outside of the bowl between the 2 sides there that gets super, super cold. And you put the dasher in here. We're going to lock that down, turn that on, and then I'm going to pour our mixture now in. Okay, so this is going to take 20 to 30 minutes for it to get the consistency of soft serve ice cream. A couple of things. I used only the name that you would see for the yellow mango in the Mexican grocery stores. That's the Ataulfo. In the other grocery stores, you'll probably see it as a champagne mango or as a honey manila mango. The other round ones typically just go by mango, or as they say in Spanish, mango. So I'm always crisscrossing those 2 things back and forth here. We're going to let this freeze, and when it gets that sort of soft servey kind of consistency, we'll scoop it out, and we'll talk a little bit about ripening it and a little bit about how you do things ahead of time. Okay, it is now, it sort of looks like sorbet. It doesn't have the creaminess, obviously, of ice cream, but I'm going to now take this out. It should be about feel like soft serve at this point. So I'm going to take this dasher out of it here, and then I will scrape this into a quart container. You're making a little less than a quart here, so you'll find a quart container that you can put this in for what is called the ripening process now. The ripening process is to firm it up to be exactly what you want it to be. Now this is frozen quite well, so this may not take more than about an hour, hour and a half in the freezer, but I would put this away for that. Now I've got one actually that we made yesterday, and so I'm just going to show you what this one looks like here, because it has a very distinctive texture. It's gotten a little what I would call icier, but this one was rock hard overnight. Then I put it into the freezer, and I'm just showing you this because I think that this is something that a lot of you are going to want to do. Put it into the freezer, freeze it hard, and then put it in the refrigerator for about an hour and a half or so to soften up. Now, because this isn't sorbet, this is nieve, Mexican nieve, and it's going to have an icier texture. We say that, and oftentimes it sounds like it's a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing in this situation because it's very, very refreshing. You want it to soften enough that it's sort of scoopable like this, but the Mexican nieve, I think, should be served not in perfect scoops like American ice cream, but the guys that are the street vendors with their Mexican nieves like this, oftentimes use small paddles to get it out. And remember, this isn't super rich, it's not super sweet. It's just a perfect refreshing thing, especially in the summertime. And you just make a gorgeous little mound of it like that. If you happen to have some mint growing in your garden, like I do, you could just put that on the top. And you've got joy in a cup there.